But the beauty of planning ahead when it comes to your social media content is you're actually coming up with your social media categories ahead of time. Hello there, and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind. And today I want to share with you 3 hacks or tips for better managing your social media, but most importantly, managing your time when it comes to social media. So I want to share these with you because we're dealing with literally a time thief here. Social media is designed to know how to get your attention, to distract you, to keep you absorbed, and to take you off track. We're dealing with platforms that through those algorithms know you in many cases better than you know yourself. And I can tell you that I have been certainly the victim, just like many of you have been, of getting sucked into a 1-hour Reels watching session or getting totally taken off track through creative opportunities on social media or messages. And I don't know if you've ever done this before. I'm sure that you have, but where you go into social media to do one task, totally lose track of what you were there to do and end up doing something completely different and wasting a ton of time. Now, if that's ever been you know the frustration that goes with that when you are desperately trying to manage a business. You've got social media profiles that you are trying to get in and manage, and you know that you've got better and more important things to do in your world than getting sucked into watching some reels or spending hours creating one post. And so because I've been through this journey, because I have learned the hard way, I wanted to, in a power podcast episode, so a really nice quick one today, share with you 3 time-saving tips or hacks to help you better manage your time on social media so you can focus on doing other things. Because, hey, we've all got important stuff that we need to be doing that doesn't involve that rabbit hole, which might be Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn or Pinterest or whatever your social media platform of choice might be. So let's dive on in and let me quickly share with you 3 time-saving tips for managing your social media. Okay, so tip number 1 is this. This is actually something that I feel people do not do because they think this is going to take more time. But in actual fact, it saves so much time in the long run. And that is planning ahead. Now, I want to unpack this one just a little bit because planning ahead doesn't necessarily mean what we think it does. And this is where I want to get really clear. When I say plan ahead, my recommendation is once every 3 months that you sit down and you do a social media strategy planning session with yourself. Now, we've done training on how to do this before. We've even got a podcast episode, which we'll refer you to in the show notes, on how to plan out your content ahead of time. But the beauty of planning ahead when it comes to your social media content is you're actually coming up with your social media categories ahead of time. So what this looks like is sitting down for a couple of hours once every 3 months and thinking to yourself about, who am I here to reach? What is my social media objective? And what types of content could I create to help me reach those people in that way? Now, when you come up with 10 to 15 different social media posting categories, in the long run, it's going to save you a ton of time because when you sit down each week to actually create your content, you're not having to now think about the strategy. You've already done that. So you're able to look at these content ideas that you've already strategically planned, pick one that you're going to use that week and create that piece of content. It is much faster once you know what content types you are playing with. Now, my suggestion when you do this process is to make sure that you come up with minimum 10 categories or even more. I suggest 10 to 15. The reason being is that each week you're going to want to use 7 of those, and you're going to want to change them around depending on what's been working, what you're learning about your audience, what's going on for you that week. So you want to have a few different ones to pull from. If you only come up with 7 categories, then you're going to be doing the same 7 things every single week. And that doesn't leave much room for adjustment and strategizing around what is and isn't working. So my suggestion is once every 3 months, sit down and just take that time to do a content strategy session with yourself and plan out 10 to 15 different post categories. Now, what I mean by a category, just in case you're thinking, well, is that just 10 to 15 different posts? No, it's like an umbrella. So you're looking at one category might be live. Now, within Facebook Live, there could be lots of different types of lives that you could do. Another category could be engagement posts. And so again, there are lots of different ways that you can create engagement posts, lots of different types of questions that you could ask. Another one might be behind the scenes. And again, there's lots of different posts that could fit with behind the scenes. When you come up with these categories, then brainstorm out as part of that session around about 5 to 10 different post ideas within each of those categories. Again, when you do that process, if you've got 10 categories you come up with, and within each of those you come up with 10 post ideas, so you've got your engagement post, and you come up with 10 different questions you could ask, straight away you've just come up with 100 pieces of content. So again, this is taking away that need every week to stop and think about what will I post next. You've already done the work in advance. So whilst this may at the time feel like you're doing this extra work, you will find that that time that you spend each week now is halved, if not more. And the posts that you're putting up have got better strategy attached to them and do a lot better in the long run. So those that do this process get far greater results when it comes to their social media, and their stress levels around their content creation are nothing compared to those that don't do this. So plan ahead is tip number 1 for time saving when managing your social media. Let's jump to tip number 2 here. And tip number 2 is actually knowing your limitations and protecting your time. Now, again, if you know that you are terrible at getting distracted by Reels and your Facebook feed, then know that when you're managing your social media, you need to be going through not the Facebook app, but through the the Business Suite app, or using a scheduling tool. The other thing I recommend in this is time blocking and planning your time, protecting that time in advance. So each week, my recommendation to you is to spend, say, 2 hours a week creating your content for the next week, and protect that time in your calendar, but also protect that time for what it is. Again, I see people sort of going, oh, I've got half an hour here and half an hour there, and I'm going to create some posts in that time, and you slot your time in amongst the rest of your week. What happens is you end up randomly posting on the fly, all strategy goes out the window, and you're often not in the right headspace to be creating the right content at the right time. What you're better off doing is planning out a little block of time once a week that you keep as a block, and you make that your content creation time. Now, if you've done step number 1, you're going to be able to look at your list of content ideas and pull from those straight away. So what might have taken you half an hour to create a post should now take you 5 to 10 minutes tops, because you don't have to think about what, you're just pulling from that list and creating it nice and quickly. Now, the other thing about time blocking that's really important is also trying not to multitask. So the way I like to use that time, if I'm doing a 2-hour block once a week to plan my content for the next 7 days, I will block out some time and use an app. I like to use the app called Tide. There are loads of different ones out there. You could simply use a timer and time yourself. But I know that the adult concentration tends to go for approximately 25 to 30 minutes in one block. before I really need to get up, move around, do something else before my brain starts to wander. So what I will do is I will set my Tide app going, which has a bit of background noise or white noise that I can set on there as well. I'll set the timer for 30 minutes and I will plan my content out. I'll create my content and schedule it in that time. And I will not do anything else in that time. So if my phone rings, I don't answer my phone. I have got my email alerts turned off. I don't allow myself to get distracted by anything else because for the next 30 minutes, this is all I'm doing. I then take a quick 3 to 5 minute break, go have a drink of water, go to the bathroom, go for a quick little walk around, come back, set the app again or set my alarm again, and keep working for another 30 minutes. And I'll do that for 1.5 to 2 hours each week. And that is me creating my content for that next 7 days. When I do this process, not only do I get more out of my time and I'm far more productive, but I know that I create better content because I'm super focused during that time on only that one task. Now, if anything comes up, because let's face it, if you're anything like me, our brains are going a million miles an hour and you're thinking of all these other things, I have a piece of blank paper there and I'll write down the things that come up for me to come to later. So I don't end up doing the whole squirrel thing where I go off and that reminds me to go and check that email and then go do this and go do that. And before long, you end up on something completely unrelated and you've wasted all this time. I stay super focused because I understand what my limitations are. And I keep a piece of paper there to write down those things that do come up in that period of time. Now, from there, we don't need to be spending lots of time in our social media throughout the week. So I allocate then just 10 to 15 minutes a day to go in and do some basic checks. Now, my checks are going to be things like who's commented on my posts that day, notifications, going and checking out, interacting with a couple of people so that I'm getting out of my page as well. And just making sure that the post I scheduled for that day has gone up properly and there's nothing, untoward that I need to fix. So I can do that in 10 to 15 minutes a day. And that's really all I need to be spending to be managing my time. Now, again, I know what my limitations are. So I know that if I go directly through the Facebook app, I may very well get a little distracted by my reels or distracted by my feed. And so I work with those limitations and I'm very careful to protect my time when it comes to my social media management. So that is step number 2 or tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to use the tools at your disposal and schedule. Okay, now if you are somebody who is posting on the fly, I can guarantee you're already wasting a ton of your time. And I can also guarantee that the content that you're putting up is not as strategic as it should be. Because the thing is that when we post on the fly, we often end up posting something simply for the sake of it that is not objective, that hasn't considered your target audience. And a lot of the time is either unrelated or sales orientated. So schedule ahead of time. But use the tools at your disposal to save you time as well. Technology can be a real challenge, but it can also most definitely be your friend. And there are some unbelievable tools out there right now to help you save a ton of time. For example, if you are a member with us, every single one of our members gets access to a social media content creation and scheduling tool called Oxano Social. Now, within this tool, you've got the ability to schedule to any platform, but you also have over 15,000 pieces of ready-made content that you can use that fit within all of these posting categories that I've just mentioned and many, many, many more. So if you're looking for a lead magnet or you're looking for an engagement post, we've already created dozens for you. So you actually don't have to go through this process of creating them from scratch. We also have an editing tool in there so you can totally make it your own, and it's going to save you a lot of time. So make sure you're using these tools at your disposal. Now, if you're not a member with us, you've also got tools out there that you can use that do similar things. For example, you can use the Meta Business Suite, or you can sign up to any other scheduling tool that will cost you a bit of money, but hey, use those tools that you've got available to you. The last tool I do want to mention that I feel like it's been a little bit controversial, but definitely has got its place and its use, and that is artificial intelligence, AI tools. You've got things like ChatGPT that will give you post ideas. So if you're sitting there going, I've got an objective, I know who my audience is, what are some posts I could create that are going to be of interest to these people? Use ChatGPT, ask it. It's going to give you a ton of ideas. Now, while you don't need to use them all, I guarantee you it's a great place for some inspiration. And you can even ask it to create some stuff for you that you can then don't copy and paste straight across, but you can certainly use it as inspiration. So put some of your own words in, play with it, but at least use those tools to get to save you a lot of time. So ChatGPT can be a really great one in that way. Also, within Oxano Social, we have got some amazing AI tools in there as well that will help you with finessing your captions. We'll even come up with hashtags for you, so you don't have to be looking out on the internet for trending hashtags that are relevant to the post you just created. You can actually use our own AI within the tool. Once you've written your caption, it will give you some generated hashtags that relate to that caption you just wrote. So again, use these tools. They're going to save you so much time. The last one I will mention, of course, is Canva. Again, there is no point creating something from scratch when you've got templates to use. So if you don't have access to Oxano Social and you want to create some content from templates, Canva is another fantastic tool that has a ton of free elements in there as well. So just remember, technology is your friend. There's so much there that you don't need to reinvent the wheel over and over again. So just to recap, those 3 time-saving tips for managing your social media were: plan ahead. It may be a little bit of work in the interim, but it's going to save you so much time, energy, and effort down the track. Number 2 is protect your time and time block. Know what your limitations are and work with those. And then number 3 is use the tools at your disposal and schedule in advance. And that's it from me in this episode. I hope this has given you a few things to work with, but get out there, plan out your social media content scheduling. And I know you've got this. Just remember, if you post on the fly, you are falling into that category of, and I love this quote, failing to plan is planning to fail. So you've got this. Just remember, a little bit of thought ahead of time is going to save you oodles of time in the long run. That's it from me. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. Remember, subscribe so that you can continue listening out for our latest episodes. And of course, if you love this, if this was helpful, please share with others that you think this could help as well. Thanks again for being a valued listener and tuning on in. And we'll see you again on the podcast next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.